Hello, Robert J. Simone here, coming to you from my studio in sunny St. Petersburg, Florida. And I'm introducing one of my most recent signature paintings entitled Below the Surface. It's one of the seminal pieces in my Water's Edge series, and it was selected for inclusion in Oil Painters of America's Eastern Regional Exhibition to be held in Charleston, South Carolina, November 20th to December 19th, 2020. You know, as an artist, I've always been drawn to coastal and marine subject matter, and when I'm out and about, I'm always keeping an eye peeled for new ideas. I often find myself standing upon a seawall, peering into the water below, searching for signs of life. Small fish, big fish, starfish, crabs, you name it. It's a boyish pursuit that never gets old. And each time I find myself doing that, I'm reminded of the first time I saw salt water. I must have been about 8 years old. Our family had traveled from our home in Ohio to visit relatives in Massachusetts. And it was on a day trip to Marblehead that I first saw salt water. As the family walked along the seawalls, we happened upon some steps leading down to the rocks below. The tide was low and my boyish curiosity was piqued. So receiving a permissive nod from our parents, my brother and I charged down those steps. With our sneakers on, we were slipping and sliding on the rocks, and we paid the price with some cuts and bruises. But after gaining our balance, we marveled at starfish and crabs, living treasures that we had never encountered before. It's such a fond memory, and this painting, this series, conjures up all of that childhood excitement. You know, in my capacity as an artist, I've come to realize that the most obvious elements are not always the most exciting, and sometimes extraordinary beauty is found in the most ordinary places. Inspiration for this series was initially sparked while working on a plein air painting of a local landmark bridge. The antics of a white heron drew my attention towards some concrete beams and other flotsam and jetsam at the base of the seawall. As the tide ebbed and flowed, concrete beams and other remnants of a long-forgotten dock were revealed and then concealed again, and I dropped my brushes and started taking photos. All sorts of possibilities began flooding my mind. Soon, I started sketching out compositions based on those photos, and I realized those old concrete beams sort of held an air of archaeological mystery. They seemed to be evidence of lives and events long since past. This piece, though, conveys more than just that. One interior designer said the piece has a universal appeal that feels watery and industrial all at the same time. She attributed the industrial feel to the presence of the concrete beams. Although painted in a representational style, the piece has the feel of contemporary art with a postmodern aesthetic. The fact that the beams are all that remain of fallen structures open up a thought-provoking avenue of interpretation. Usually such interpretation is part and parcel to the modern and postmodern art movements, but as such, I feel this painting, if not the whole series, does represent a synthesis of traditional, modern, and postmodern sensibilities. The thought that the series could possibly engender interpretations involving some sort of archetypal content was somewhat unexpected, but it's a notion that's been validated by others who have seen the work. Recurring motifs of decaying beams and timbers, the imperfect clarity of the water, the persistent signs of life do seem packed with meaning, and perhaps they do allude to thoughts about the impermanence of social constructs, and while at the same time alluding to a sense of discovery and hope as one peers into the soulful depths. This painting also possesses some very painterly qualities. The mosaic style of my brushwork is common to all of my paintings. It's such that up close, a viewer can enjoy its rhythmic qualities, but from a distance, that same brushwork optically blends into the watery representational image. The effect is enhanced by the use of thick and thin, opaque and transparent, and other passages of paint. Below the Surface will be available at Reinert Fine Art in Charleston, South Carolina, beginning November 20th. It's a piece that I feel is unique in the market, and I think it will appeal to a broad range of collectors. So, in closing, I want to invite you to visit my website, robertjsimone.com. There you can view a broad array of my work, including other pieces in this Water's Edge series. And just want to say thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.